What other traits do you see just generally with coaches in terms of maybe the biggest mistakes people are making when they first come to us?
Don't replicate someone else. Be yourself. Find your own niche. Find your market. Who you're trying to talk to.
And I think that's where a lot of people, they try and just throw people almost under the bus in like hiring positions. So like close, coach, being setters, whatever. But the actual person doesn't know how to do it.
You can't really gather respect unless you know exactly how things run in this regard. You need to know what style of content works for you. You need to be judging the ads, for example, for whatever boosted post or paid ad you're running, which is doing well. So you know, let's push this a little bit more.
It's interesting you say that. What do you think has been the biggest things you've learned in terms of hiring in your own business? If you're an online coach, you're looking to scale your business today, we're going to talk about what it looks like to be a successful online coach, from character traits, personality, and the type of person you need to be. Joined by Jack Grace, who's one of our client success managers and business coaches within 7-Figure Scaling Systems, who helps some of our biggest coaches absolutely crush it. One of which has actually recently been on the podcast, Josh Bridgman. And I actually would even start with that, Jack. What do you think has made Josh be successful?
Basically, with Josh, one of the most important things was, as he's such an established figure, actually getting him to take a step back and have an overview of the business in regards to, yes, you may be incredibly popular on Instagram, you have a fantastic following on YouTube, but are your systems in place? Is your VA working correctly? Or is your content actually reaching your ICA? Just going back to the very much basics and then capitalizing on that and getting him actually the master of all traits before we start to delegate further to expand his business.
And you say that, do you think one of the big mistakes people delegate too soon? They don't understand what they're trying to delegate.
Absolutely. It's one of the most common traits, honestly. So going back to the very much the basics, how do you talk to your clients? What's the language you use to them? If you just pass that on to a VA without actually teaching them correctly, without knowing exactly how to lead nurture, how to build the trust up, the rapport, and get them on a sales call, you can't just say, yeah, follow this, because you never know actually what they're trying to say. Have they identified a pain point? Do you need to dig deeper? So unless you can actually teach them this through your own proven methods, it's never going to work.
And I think that's where a lot of people, they try and just throw people almost under the bus in like hiring positions. So like close, coach, being setters, whatever. But the actual person doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So like you can't tell the person to do the good job because you don't know how to do the good job either, or what good looks like. And that's why I think sometimes people need to slow down and, like as you said, almost like with Josh there, pull himself out of the business. What other traits do you see just generally with coaches in terms of maybe the biggest mistakes people are making when they first come to us?
Well, going back to obviously what we just discussed in the mastermind yesterday, comparisons is the thief of joy. Don't replicate someone else. Be yourself. Find your own niche. Find your market. Who you're trying to talk to. Because if I was to go in right now and say I train 80-year-old women and know all their pain points, or know, for example, about the menopause, people don't find me as relatable there because I have no proven method of it. If I talk about young lads trying to build muscle mass, trying to cut down body fat, trying to build up to become a sports athlete, etc., I've got much more knowledge within this area. So I actually know the pain points. I can identify them. I can tell people about the struggles which I've had myself. So again, proving it back to yourself so you know the problems, but most importantly, you know the solutions and how to overcome it.
And I also think we speak a lot, obviously, on some of the scaling systems about the attractive character framework, which is why I thought it was interesting. Ryan Zofe spoke about being attractive. Yeah. It's like, that's exactly the same way I think, because that's funny. But it's true, because people buy from people, and if you're trying to sell something that's not congruent with who you are, it's not going to work. So like if I was to try and sell, and we sell menopausal women, and I'm a male guy who's 35 trying to sell to that market, it's not a clean demographic for me to go and really target, because it's not congruent. Whereas if you look at one of our other clients, for example, Tara, who did 50K last week just in menopause, it's because she is in that age bracket of menopausal women. Yeah. So menopausal women can relate directly with her and will fully trust her and buy into her.
Exactly as you said yesterday, you've got to be the leader. Unless you can prove you're a leader, you know the methods, it's hard to have the backing and of the structure to build the trust.
It's interesting you mentioned the be a leader thing. So one of the talks, the mastermind event yesterday, I had on top of a whiteboard. That's something I'd written and underlined, because it was time COVID was going on and everyone was like super fucking stressed. What do you think people who are online coaches need to do to be more of a leader in their business?
Take charge and again have the understanding of the systems in place. So you can't really gather respect unless you know exactly how things run in this regard. You need to know what style content works for you. You need to be judging the ads, for example, for whatever boosted post or paid ad you're running, which is doing well. So you know, actually, let's push this a little bit more. What's the best style of outreach again to your clients? What's been the best hooks, for example, to gather leads to come through? You need to have the foundational knowledge of all of this, again, to show that people can look up to you and then they can ask you questions so they can develop their own knowledge. You need to be a leader by being able to teach your staff members. So unless you have the knowledge yourself, you can't teach them.
Is there anything in our business that I can't do?
I'd love to say yes, just to call you out on the podcast, but at the minute, near enough every time I ask a question, I do have an answer. Yeah. That's it, yeah.
But that's a bit of a shitty thing for me to say, but like what I mean from that is, and this is also something I said at the event at the weekend, is that like I also on this whiteboard with Be a Leader, I had like 25 different tasks of all types of different things. There's like, if you learn how to do everything to a base degree, you can then really spot problems quickly and also know if there's an issue. So like whether it's a tech problem, I can look at like, I don't know, our email systems or funnels. I'm like, yeah, that's not working. This isn't integrated.
Look what Ryan said, obviously, yesterday, and what you said yourself to me before you went up to do your talk, before you did the Q&A. There's nothing I can't answer. I've been through it. I've experienced it myself. Ryan, again, talking about when he was trying to hire a social media manager, etc. He's gone through many different methods, but because he didn't have the knowledge himself, he's made mistakes in those areas. So if you learn from your mistakes. So I'm not saying, obviously, there'll be times where you didn't know anything in this regards, but you've built the knowledge up through pain and experience, and it's got you to be able to get to the stage where you can answer the questions. And that's the foundation. That's the road you need to take to build your business.
And I think that's where a lot of people sometimes don't understand, and that's why I have so much respect for anyone who has a business where you're an online coach, because you have to wear so many different hats. There's like sales, marketing, operations, hiring, fulfillment, admin, probably more that I haven't even tech, more that I haven't even thought of, like your finances, accounting. That's a lot of little different shit. And if you're new to business and you have no skill set and you're also stressed and you're worried about probably money and everything's going to fail, and then your partner's like, what the fuck are you working all the time? And it's like, the sick twisted thing is that it's the hardest when you're the weakest, because your skill set is so low and you have the least amount of resources, is when it's the most difficult, which is why if you can break through that battle and get to momentum to get a business that makes 10, 20, 30K a month, you then have the momentum and it actually gets easier the more it grows.
I'll throw something on top of that though, but it was also then the hardest stage to learn to delegate. I know I've been like that myself through the businesses I've ran. The hardest thing is because you built it up, you know everything, it's your baby. Then giving someone else the responsibility to run something which you know the method of doing, it's an important ability to be able to make. Referring back to Josh, obviously, again, about building in a coaching team, etc. It's hard to do because people look up to you, but unless you delegate that responsibility, learn how to do it, learn how to train them properly, you can't really go from, again, say 20K to 50K to 100K.
It's interesting you say that. What do you think has been the biggest things you've learned in terms of hiring in your own business? Because you've got a really successful gym in the Isle of Man. Yeah.
For me, it's not, I still struggle to this day with it. Again, I'm very, very good with every single client in regards to giving them exact feedback on what they need to do. I can see the overall perspective on it. But when it's your own business, it's hard not to let emotions take over sometimes, which is, again, what a lot of the clients struggle with. But having, obviously, us as guidance, that's where it really comes into play. So for myself, what I've struggled with is letting someone else do a task when I know, again, I'm ADHD through the roof. So I am so meticulous with exactly how I do things. If they do it in a different way, no, it's going to be wrong. No, it's not going to be right. I need to do this instead. But no, give them the responsibility to do it. So then I can actually put that time and effort where I'd be spending there in another part of the business where I can, again, look to develop it further. So it's taking, similar as we just spoke about at the start, taking a step back to take 2 steps forward.
And I think with that, I originally had exactly the same issue. I was so reluctant to hire someone to do any of the coaching, which is why I had far too many clients. But then when you first hire someone and then suddenly your workload gets halved, you're like, well, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I've got time again. What is this?
Yeah, and I think that's the feedback loop of time, success, and actually leverage. Like, cool, where else can I do this? And then you start trying to find other things you could delegate out. The only thing I would say no one can delegate out, and this is something I've tried multiple times and some friends have told me you can do, and I've actually spoke with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, he makes multi-7 figures a month on this. you cannot delegate all of your marketing. You in an online coaching business or any online education business for that matter, you as a founder have to be the main marketer because the brand is basically going to be around your personal brand. You also probably have the highest knowledge and skill sets, so the best person to know what content to market and what content to talk about. And I think that is sometimes where people get lazy in terms of they're trying to hire maybe agencies, content creation stuff to give them a one size a la carte content thing, whereas you have to learn the process of how to do that.
And again, it takes away the individuality. So again, referring back to attract a character framework, if you're giving someone else the responsibility, they don't know exactly what the clients look up to you for. They might have a baseline knowledge, but it's not your knowledge in that sense.
Yeah, and they don't know the nuances of you and your life and what makes you tick and what makes you different. And I think that's what people buy from is the specifics of you as an individual. Online coaching, some people could argue, is a saturated market, although it's growing around 17% per year. The reality is it's saturated with people doing the same thing. So if you can stand out by being yourself and being unique, then you will never run out of people who will want to come to you.
And that again refers back to what a lot of clients struggle with when they first come to us. Who is your ICA? Who's your ideal client avatar? Because they go in and say, oh, I just want to train busy professionals. How many times do you go on Instagram?
Well, how generic is that?
Yeah, I see everyone doing that. Yeah, make yourself unique. Who do you actually appeal to? And then again, your content, your marketing, everything can then capitalize through this method. Yes, you may not have straight away as many leads coming through, but you're going to have more quality leads coming through. And that's where the revenue's made.
If I was to do it again and I was still in my estate agency job, I would target people who are estate agents.
Yeah.
Because then I could relate to them straight away.
Exactly.
And I could use that as an angle. So I would always look what's your angle you can use with someone and push that narrative. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a great example of that would be, like, if you told me 3 years ago someone could make 150,000 euros a month selling fat loss programs to farmers, I'd be like, no fucking way. But Dave Kennedy's now making 150,000 euros a month selling weight loss programs to farmers. So that's a very specific niche because he fits that niche because he is a farmer and from a farming background in Ireland. And I think that's just where if your offer and brand is congruent with who you are, it will do really well.
Exactly.
In terms of 2025, what do you think are the main things people need to focus on?
So again, not falling into the generic trap, what makes you unique, and again, not getting shiny object syndrome. Focus on what you know works, and don't try, oh no, he's doing well in this area, or she's doing well in this area. I've seen that this guy earned 50k from doing this. No, stick to your business and then capitalize on that. Again, referring back to, talking about what we did with Josh, for example, 1 step back to 2 steps forward. Build your systems. Make sure every single avenue is perfect. Once that's all done, we'll then look into obviously the paid ads, etc. and everything, but it's still focusing in on your targeted area instead of, again, drifting away.
What's the number one thing people get red shiny object syndrome with from comparison syndrome?
Again, well, so, for example, again, some of our social proof, that can be a big one, for example, where we're advertising some of our major client wins, but then they'll be getting the exact same thing. They'll be messaging or saying, oh no, but they're earning 100k. Oh no, they're earning 150k. There's always going to be, you're always going to want more. That's the thing. But focus on your own lane and focus on your own development. As long as every single month you are seeing that business progress, you are seeing that revenue increase, you're building your client base, don't be pushed away by the people around you. Know what works for you.
And I think one of the most important things people should do is take other people's success as inspiration because it shows it can be done, which I think was one of the big takeaways for a lot of people at the event. It was like, all these people are doing really well. So it's like, okay, you can do really well too.
Mm-hmm. The majority of people absolutely came up to me like, but I had 1 or 2 clients originally come up to me and say, no, they're doing really, really well. They've, for example, got to this target revenue market. So should I change my niche to that? No, you shouldn't, because that's their market. That's who they're trying to focus in on. We can take inspiration from some of their content. We can take ideas from them, but don't completely change your business just because it's working for someone else.
And that's where I think I can see it with people who aren't coaches with this, but I see people who almost, they're flip-flopping their narrative all the time. They haven't got a clear thing they're focusing on. And there's going to be a delayed process of people buying anyway, and it's a compound effect over time. So the clearer your messaging is, and the more consistent you are with that, the more it's going to work in your favour.
Exactly that consistency. Because if someone goes on your page, for example, let's go for Instagram, and they see for a 2-month period you're targeting, again, male aged 30 to 40-year-old to a busy office workers, but then you go into I'm looking for 20 to 25-year-old athletes. who you're actually trying to appeal to. So you lose that pain point factor. You lose that, again, the rapport, the trust in what makes the client want to reach out about coaching, find out a little bit more so.
100%. In terms of from people's personal organisation in the business, where do you think people struggle? Or the biggest pitfalls?
Not knowing where to start, not prioritising everything. So, for example, this has been the major thing for so many of our clients over the past, let's say, good few months, especially with the build-up now to Black Friday. I know I need to do this, but I need to do this instead. And then they get overwhelmed. Overwhelming sensation. If you just break it down step by step, plan your diary in advance, plan your content out in advance, have your systems in place in this regards, instead of thinking, oh no, I'll just do it all later on. Because then when you start that work block on a certain area, you think, where the hell do I start? And then that's going to brain fog. You'll then procrastinate that further. It's going to lead to tomorrow. Then you're going to have double the workload for that 3-hour period. So if you plan everything out in smaller doses, like for example, outreach again, what I've got a lot of clients to do, instead of having one 3-hour outreach block in the evening time.
It's a terrible idea.
Exactly, but that's what so many people have when they first come to us.
Because you're not going to do that efficiently for 3 hours.
Exactly. You're going to miss out every single pain point. You're not going to actually focus on the lead nurturing side of things, the conversation. If you break that into, let's say, 3 to 4, 20 to 30 minute blocks, you're going to take time in that conversation. Exactly. And again, it's not going to be something which you are absolutely dreading doing, because you can actually engage in the conversation a little bit further. You'll enjoy talking to the clients, the leads this way, instead of, oh Christ, I've still got 40 minutes to do this. You need to break things up. And then again, same thing applies to content. For example, there's not going to be every minute of the day where you are riddled with ideas of what reels to film, what's the best marketing tactic. Spread it throughout the day, have different work blocks, but again, also adding in time for, again, just a bit of normality. Going to the train yourself, having a bit of family time. Unless if you're so invested in the business, you can't see what's happening in the business, I always say.
Yeah, I think that's where people get blinded. They're not efficient.
Exactly.
Because people have to remember they are human beings, not robots. You have a finite amount of energy that you can use. And it's about being effective and efficient, not just working a set amount of hours. So like, if you said to me you would do 3 hours of Instagram DM messaging non-stop, I'm like, no fucking chance you're doing that. Not like, I could do 10 minutes maybe. Like, I'm a very focused person, but after that I'm going to get distracted.
Exactly.
You're going to end up scrolling on Instagram and just doing other shit. So like, you might as well do really intense bouts, but like frequently, and have breaks and drop in and out. And I think a lot of things in business are like that. Even myself, I'll probably only do 60 to 90 minutes max in one go on like a big project, because I know I can't focus for any longer than that. My brain will start drifting. So like, the way I find structure in my day, and I spoke about this bit at the event, is that I'll get up early, I'll work for probably an hour and a half on something like that I'm building.
Trying to build the same thing every day as well, so you have that routine. Instead of, say, one day I'm going to do a 9-hour work block, the next day I'm going to have a 4-hour work block.
It's the same. Yeah. So I do the same structure every day of what I do and when.
Your body adapts then.
You're just removing something to think about. Like, I get up, I take my supplements, I weigh myself, I then go on my balcony, I read, I write some shit down, I then go put my red light therapy unit on, and then I start working, and that's it. And I put my little focus timer on, so I count how long I've been working for, and then put my headphones on. That's it. And
that's your structure though, isn't it? So I have the same thing. So when I get up first thing in the morning, again, supplements, weigh myself, drive to the gym. I personally need to train first thing, so I can then, that's my one selfish act today, which is for me. I need to make sure I do that, so then I can give everything else within my working block to every single client and the business, basically. Unless I do that, I am so distracted throughout the day. Honestly, it's just amazing, because you become so routine, it's embedded in you. And again, efficiency in that aspect, everything is then mapped out for the day. I have my call slot times, I have my prime, obviously building time, etc. I have my business time in regards to networking with the team. It's just, again, creating the healthy habits.
What do you think healthy habits look like for someone who runs a business?
Not healthy. No, I'm the first to say, referring back to what you just said before, actually, as well. You need to go through burnout at one stage, at least. I think it's important to then know your limits, so therefore you can actually plan everything around it. I'm very guilty of it myself and drive myself into a bit of a hole sometimes, because I just get tunnel visioned. But again, this is where the calendar organisation really comes into play, and making sure that you stick to that, so therefore you can eliminate this at most possibilities.
Some advice I'd give to that is, like, I spoke about this a lot at the event, but on a Sunday I'll plan out I do my 10 questions to ask myself, which if you watch the recording from the event you'll see, and I will plan out like what are the things I need to do that week in terms of like big tasks, and I literally will put in like when on like what days, So then I know exactly when that thing's going to get done to like the specific like minute and hour, and then I don't have to think. I just Tuesday morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to do X, Y, Z. That's it.
A lot of clients will be laughing right now the fact you've just said that, because something I've got a very large portion of our team to do is every single Sunday send me through on Slack the screenshot of the calendar for the following week, just for that accountability. So I can now reference, have you done this? Have you done this? How are we getting on with this, etc. They'll have it in place. So therefore, right, no, I've sent it now, so I need to stick to it in this regard. It's just, again, accountability to then take the actual steps.
I would say the last piece of advice I'd give to anyone that is that I actually have it in my calendar is like plan tomorrow today. So like at the end of every day, I will review my calendar tomorrow and just make sure everything is correct, and then have everything on my desk like that I need to start work first thing in the morning. I'll make sure WhatsApp's closed, Slack's closed, whatever browser I need is open. So like if I come to my computer and WhatsApp's open, I'm going to read the fucking I'm going to read a WhatsApp message, and I'm going to be my head's into these things straight away.
No, I have my phone on Do Not Disturb until after I finish training, because for that exact same reason. And even little things like you just said before in regards to getting everything set up beforehand, lay out your gym clothes before you train if you're training first thing in the morning. It sounds so silly, but it's efficient. You just, again, build efficiency into your lifestyle.
If we were to finish up, what would you say if we look at like the Pareto principle of 20% of actions create 80% of outcomes? What do you think are the main things as the 20% people of coaches should focus on in 2025?
Again, organisation of calendar, big one right there. Number two, in regards to not trying to pick off more than they can chew to start with. So again, lots of people think I need to hit Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, every platform they can do all in one go. Exactly. Whereas instead of trying to do everything at 40%, let's become the master of one and then build onto the next, create that next platform. Build and build and build. Don't half-arse something. Let's actually focus on capitalizing in it, taking everything out of it we can do, building the team on this area, and then again we can expand the marketing further afterwards and then build up other platforms.
100%. Big thank you for your time today, Jack.
Thank you very much. I'm
sure a lot of people take a lot of value from this conversation. And if you're looking to take your business to the next level, 7-Figure Scalator Systems is the place to do that. We've helped hundreds and hundreds of coaches do it at this point, and plan on this podcast to keep growing this and keep giving you as much value as possible to help you on your journey doing that. And if you want help working with us one-to-one, if you hit the link below this video, you can find out exactly how we can help you and book in essentially a free coaching call where we basically audit your business, and then we'll offer you an opportunity to work with us if we think you're a good fit. And if you took value from this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and see you next episode very soon.